Welcome back to Gap on Zoom. I'm Marty Emino, the Director of Operations for the Golf Association of Philadelphia. I'm joined here today by Tony Regina and Dan Schofield, the Assistant Communication Directors for Gap. And today we have a very special guest, a local man who made good, Vince Covello, who reached the PGA Tour for the first time in 2020 after trying for 15 years. Vince played on 7 different golf tours before finally earning his PGA Tour card through the Korn Ferry Tour. Before we get going about your journey to the big time, Vince, just want to check how are things going and where you're located.
Everything's good, man. I've been lucky. The whole family, my family that's up in Philadelphia and down here in Florida with me, everybody's healthy, first off and foremost. I mean, that's the most important thing right now. Everything's going good. We're having a nice spring down here in Florida, and the weather's good. And golf courses have, some of them have chosen to close down. Others have stayed open. The public golf course in Jacksonville Beach has stayed open the whole time, so I've gotten to play twice out there. But everything's going well.
And you're in you said Jacksonville, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Dan, you want to hop in? You got a question?
Yeah, then so let's just start off right off the bat. Let's talk about your current PGA Tour experience and kind of give some update. I know you're having some back issues, so just give our followers some insight on that.
Yeah, the PGA Tour has been absolutely phenomenal so far. I mean, I haven't played my best golf yet. I got out to a strong start, opening up in Greenbrier and kind of, limped oil over the weekend there. But it's been great. I haven't done my best, of course, but it's certainly all new experiences and new places and new people and getting used to the surroundings a little bit. It's the same kind of feel as the Korn Ferry Tour, but just on a much bigger scale.
Do you have a favorite? I know you've played in a bunch of tournaments so far, but do you have a favorite moment or something that sticks out so far to you?
I guess finishing up on Friday, I missed the cut at Torrey Pines for the Farmers Insurance, but I made about a 50-foot birdie putt on the 18th on the south course at Torrey Pines, which I think most people know from our great Tiger Woods playing so well there over the years. But that was a pretty cool moment. Was making a bomb to get out of there. Ended up missing the cut, I think, by 2. But all in all, it was pretty neat to make a long putt up the ridge in front of the big grandstands there.
So you're just battling currently a back issue, Vince. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's been some lingering stuff that started kind of last summer. And I kind of had to play through it. After I got the win on the Korn Ferry Tour, it all but I just had to basically play out the season and do reasonably well to get the tour card and get promoted up. So I kind of tried to manage it as best I could, pick my weeks where I really wanted to play and skip some weeks in there that I felt like my back needed a rest. And it's still in the same boat. I've been doing some rehab that hasn't really set in yet, and I've tried some injections in there. They're doing some diagnostic injections to try and find the exact location that's causing the stiffness and the pain. And it's just tough waking up every morning, in pain and being tight. And I guess it's part of getting older, of course. I'm getting used to that as well. But, it takes such a long time in the morning to get into playing shape. And, I can understand now why some of the guys are up at, 3 o'clock in the morning for their 7 o'clock tee times. It's getting to be part of the routine, I guess.
So have you applied for a medical exemption yet, or is that something you'll think about?
I did. Yes, I did. It got approved. I stopped playing after Torrey Pines, so I skipped Pebble Beach would have been my next event after that. But they granted my medical due to the doctor's findings and the MRIs and CT scans and stuff like that. And so I am currently under medical extension, which would prolong my status to the following season. Any events that I would miss that I would get in based off my current ranking. It's a complicated thing to explain. We have a ranking system that's not just the FedEx Cup points. It's kind of your categories where you fall as far as like past champions, returning top 125 from the FedEx Cup prior season, the Korn Ferry rookies. There's medical categories in there. There's about 8 to 10 categories that get in each week's event. And so, that the number of events I'll get next year is based off of my ranking and how many events I would have gotten into this year.
So obviously everything's on standby with the restrictions nationally and the stay-at-home orders for different states and the PGA Tour having to adjust its schedule. What do you have tentatively penciled in for your next event or outing or time on the course?
Well, I was hoping for a June restart, but the injections that I've done so far haven't made any difference. So it's a little disappointing. I think the doctors are kind of guessing at this point. I mean, or they're trying to find the location. I have great people in place that are trying to help me. So it's been a frustrating battle, but I don't think June is the answer for me. Maybe the fall series for the 2021 season, which is it's been greatly expanded now that the majors have been pushed back and a couple of other tournaments have been pushed to that time frame. So we now have 13 events in the fall series for the 2021 season. And some of them are the same that I played this year, like the Sanderson Farms in Mississippi and Napa out in California and stuff like that. So I'm hopeful that maybe this fall I'll be able to get back to it.
What was it like standing on the tee for your first event on the tour? How nervous were you, and how did you process everything that was going on?
It was a really cool moment. I mean, I obviously was super nervous. I had played one PGA Tour event before that in Memphis. I Mondayed in back in 2013. So I kind of knew the feel a little bit, but that was a long time ago. And, certainly knowing that I'm exempt for the full year, that was it was a very cool tee shot. And at Greenbrier, it was a place I had played some junior tournaments before. And, thank God it was a little left to right tee shot, and it wasn't a right to left tee shot. So it made me feel a little more comfortable up there, but definitely a lot of emotions and thoughts of what it took to get there. And it was really cool.
I'm guessing the whole family was there?
No, I was actually there by myself. So it was
really? Okay.
Yeah, we came right from one week and straight to the next. I had rookie orientation at Greenbrier 2 days before that tournament week. So Saturday, Sunday before. We had just gotten done with our tour championship out in Evansville, Indiana on Sunday. So we basically had about 5 days off. So I came home, did laundry, repacked the bags, gave everybody hugs and kisses, and then took off for Greenbrier for rookie orientation, and then started my career, my season.
Awesome.
Vince, how instrumental were your trips around Lanark Country Club as a junior golfer in getting you where you are today?
It's hard to put a quantifiable amount on it, but I mean, Lanark is such a challenging golf course and such a great competitive place to grow up. We had, one of the best junior programs, I think, in the area at the time when I was growing up there, and just that competitiveness that leads you to keep wanting to be better than the next guy. And we had a ton of good junior players. I mean, I think while I was there, our little stretch that we had from the late 90s into early 2000s, we won the state tournament for juniors up at Hershey a couple times, and we just really had a good bunch of guys that helped keep the interest in wanting to go to the golf course and wanting to play. I think that's something that today is really important in junior golf, is in trying to keep the interest in juniors in golf is that they need friends out there doing it with them. It's no fun to be out there by yourself for long hours. It really takes a dedicated individual as a junior to spend the time to do that. But if you have friends out there doing it, it makes it seem like it's fun and camaraderie with your buddies, and I think it's a great place to hang out. I certainly can say it kept me out of trouble a couple times being at the course and not looking for stuff to do. But man, I mean, Lanark itself is just such a gem, such a hidden gem. I hope one day it gets the full credit that it deserves for being one of the true classic golf courses in the area, and it gets to be something really special up there.
Who has more head-to-head wins, you or Billy Stewart?
Oh, I'm gonna give it to Billy. I'm gonna give it to Billy. He's got my number, man. It's something about him. Like, ever since that Philly Junior Boys at Huntington Valley, I don't know how he stole that one away from me, but he did, and that's something I'll never forget. And we still talk about it all the time. I got lucky when I was down down in West Palm Beach a few weeks ago. I got to see him down there. He's down teaching at the Ledbetter Academy at PGA National, and he's doing really well for himself, and is still a great player. Obviously, he knows how to get his ball in the hole, and that's the trick to the game.
I think that speaks volumes about your golf upbringing, the fact that you and Billy are still good friends, and the fact that you're still connected with the Lanark community. Obviously, that was something that was very important to you despite wherever you were in your golf career, correct?
Absolutely. I mean, you can never forget where you came from. That's why I always wear the Phillies hats when I can. And, you know, I'm proud to be a Philadelphian and proud to be from Lanark Country Club. And I think that it helped shape the person that I am, the hard-nosed competitive person that I am that never quits. And you never know how many presses are going to be on the line on 18 tee box there. And, so, you know, you got to play all the way through, play hard all the way to the end.
I mean, 15 years is a long time for anything. I'm sure there were times that you probably thought about, you know, maybe moving your career in a different direction. You know, how were you able to stick it out through thick and thin and to finally make it?
I think my family around me has been the biggest support in me to keep chasing this dream. You know, I grew up with wonderful parents and wonderful brothers and sisters, and they all encourage me, and all my friends around me that just keep telling me to keep going. And you know, they tell me that the real world isn't as fun as what I'm doing. You know, I've been lucky enough to not have to experience that so much, but you know, I love my craft. I love what I do. I love every facet, and I have this burning fire to know more and more about every different facet of the game, from whether it be course design or, you know, of course, swing and techniques and all that kind of stuff, but even club building and all those kind of things. I mean, my very first job was working at George Izett Golf, probably when I was 13, 14, 15. And, you know, I heard the terrible news this year that George had passed away, and that was tough to hear. That was a place that, again, held very close to me, as that's part of, you know, where I got a lot of golf knowledge about equipment in there. And, you know, I still to this day build most of my own equipment. And, you know, some of the tour reps out there think I'm crazy with some of the things I do, but I know what I like, and that ultimately makes things easier for them because I have very specific details that I'm looking for.
There's a revelation I wasn't aware of.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
So Dan, I'll let you hop in here. I just got one more follow-up to that. So what were the range of emotions when you won the Louisiana Open, I guess, last year now? You know, I'm sure, you know, if you win one of those events on tour, that probably almost stamps your card for the PGA Tour. So it's a life-changing event. But, I mean, what were the wave of emotions that you went through after that victory?
Well, it was crazy just the whole week. I mean, I came out of the gates great. I was leading after 18 and 36 holes, and then I think I was, after 54 holes, I was 2 shots back at Justin Lauer. And, you know, I was kind of course, nervous in the final round. I had hit it phenomenally well the first 3 days and didn't quite feel right the 4th day there on Sunday. And it just took me a minute to get settled by I think I birdied the 4th hole, which kind of settled me down a little bit, and kept going and going and going and playing. And as I got to, you know, I think from 13 to 14, we crossed the road, and there's a big scoreboard there in Louisiana. And I saw that I was like tied for 8th, you know, with 5 holes to go. And I was like, wow, if I make one more bogey, I'm out of the top 10. And this week has been one of my best weeks. And that's just a credit to how deep the talent is out there. And then, you know, of course, I think I bogeyed 14 and was like, oh my gosh. And then I birdied 16 and 18 to end up tying. And then, of course, the playoff went 3 holes. I, you know, saved a great par on the first playoff, and then birdied the 3rd playoff hole to actually get it done. And, I mean, it was so fantastic. It's hard to put it into words. You know, at that point, you try and you're not even thinking about the benefits that come with a win. You're just trying to beat the other guy, right? It's just, it's mano a mano in a playoff, and, you know, it's you or him, and you gotta find a way to make it work in your favor. And I did. And, you know, first thing I did was point to my dad up in heaven, and, you know, he was a big part of spurring me on and helped me learn the game as a kid, and gave me all these opportunities to be still playing today. And so I'm incredibly thankful for that. But then you think of, I had time to reflect, all the people that have touched my golf life. I mean, from, the pros that were at Lanark Country Club growing up, the other junior golfers there, and the guys that were a little bit older than me that took me out to play golf into their game, and that were just a little better and were drafting me up all the time to play with them. And it's amazing how many people have gone into getting me to where I am. And I thank all of them. I can't put them all in names, but I mean, my gosh, I mean, there's, Ben Lesniak and John Cooper were the head and assistant pros when I was growing up, and those are great guys, and I still keep in contact with them today. Chris Hoyle was a good buddy of mine. He's over at Rolling Green now. So like guys like that, and it's just, they had an influence on me. I can't quantify how much, but they certainly helped me stay competitive and learn the game and be hard nosed, and just to get me to where I was going. So the emotions were all over the place. I mean, my first call was to my mother, of course, back in Florida, and then my long-term golf coach and really good friend and mentor, Anders Forsbrand, who played the European Tour for a long time. So I have so many people to thank, and it was great. I had a good buddy of mine from Philly on the bag that week, actually, in Louisiana. I had Vinny Alessi, whose granddad was a longtime member, and his longtime member at Lanark, Rich Alessi, and comes from a really good family that lives over there in Drexel Hill and Delaware County, people they're just the best. And to have him around made me feel like I was at home all week. And so thanks to him too. I can't forget about him. He was I've had some really good moments with him on the bag. He's probably my most successful caddy so far.
So when that final putt drops in the playoff, is it more shock or more excitement?
Almost relief at that point, because when you're leading after, it's a long week, when you're leading after 18, leading after 36, and then you're in the final group on Saturday and Sunday, and I shot 67 on Saturday and somehow lost a lead to a 2-shot deficit. And so I played good golf, and I just wanted to get it done. That was as good of a chance as I had in a long time. I think my other top finishes out there on the Korn Ferry Tour, I don't want to say backdoored it, but I had played steady all week and then had a good round on Sunday, and I finished third in San Fran a couple years ago, and I think I had a second maybe the year before, tied for second or third or something the year before. And so I knew I had what it takes to have a good finish, but to cross that finish line in first is a different step, and that's when it makes you feel really good about yourself that you got it done.
And then after the win, obviously the Korn Ferry final, which I believe you told me was the best moment of your golfing career yet, when they handed you the tour card. For those of us who will never get that feeling, can you describe that?
It was just surreal. It was like a dream. It was a dream come true. I mean, I was out there. It was the last regular season event on the Korn Ferry schedule at Pumpkin Ridge, out in Portland, Oregon, which is a place I had actually got to play a U.S. Junior U.S. Junior Amateur, and I made it through the qualifying. It was at Country Club of Hershey that got me out there. They had the 36-hole qualifier for it. So it's a place I had been, and the 18th green there is surrounded by big, tall pine trees, and then the grandstands inside of it. And that week I did have some friends and family there, and it was great just to share that moment with everybody. And it was, man, like I said, it was a dream come true. It was surreal. Like, you're standing there with these 24 of your counterparts that have had great seasons, and everybody's on cloud 9. It doesn't matter whether you're 1 or 25, or whether you barely squeaked in or whether you kicked everybody's butt all year long and dominated. You're there, you're getting that tour card, and it's a moment that was just, you couldn't take the smile off my face. You could have kicked me in the gut, or taken my legs out from underneath me, I still would have been smiling. It was I mean, there's nothing that will ever take that away. And knowing that I've wanted that from the time I was probably 13, 14, 15 years old to 37. So that's 22 years of dreaming of something, and then it finally gets handed to you, and it just doesn't seem real. But it's been great.
What's the biggest difference between the two tours?
I mean, certainly the crowds, course setup a little bit more difficult on the PGA Tour, just with some more rough and probably some faster, firmer greens. On the PGA, I think, the level of play on the Corn Ferry is really good and really competitive. And I think, on the PGA, it's certainly the same and maybe just a little bit better, because you're going against the top 50 in the world. That you need to really have your A game to compete with some of those guys. And, they bring it every week. You look at the Rory McIlroys and Justin Roses and those kind of guys that step up, and it seems like every week that they decide to play, they're in the top 10. And that's just amazing to me, is that every week that you show up, you're going to be competitive to win a tournament. And that's something that, I'm striving for and hope to get to that point in my life and my career and my golfing abilities. But, it's definitely a different level of play. Courses are a little bit harder, and it's a finer line to walk. It seems like it's much easier to make a bogey on the PGA Tour than it does on the web.
So I know I saw you on the putting green at Lanark maybe 2 years ago now. And you were putting there. I think I hit balls, came and putted, and then went somewhere and came back, and you were still putting. So you had to be going for a couple hours, and I asked you, talking about your golf game, you said, basically this is the difference here. The putting green is where the difference is amongst all the guys that you play against. Is that still the same way on the PGA Tour? Does everybody hit it the same, and it's all about making putts?
Yeah, I mean, the art's to get it in the hole, like I said earlier, and the old saying, drive for show, putt for dough. That's 100% correct. It's funny that you can come up with a little cliche that's so true, but it is. And the guys, all the stats that are out now with the strokes gained and everything, they have, strokes gained tee to green and strokes gained on the green or putting. And it seems that the guy that wins every week is always, he's top 20 in both, but, he's probably the best putter out of the best 20 ball strikers. Ball striking is what gives you the opportunities. And then, if you don't take advantage of those opportunities and make your putts, then you're not going to get anything for it. But, there's guys on the PGA Tour that know their strengths. Everybody has different games. Everybody has different talents and different strengths in their game. And they are true professionals in playing to those strengths. Like the big thing that rings out in my mind is Zach Johnson, who's a class act. The way he played the par fives in the Masters the year he won, he laid it up every time and used his wedge game and his putter to beat everybody. And that's, David Toms laid it up on the 72nd hole of the PGA Championship one year when I was a kid growing up, and to beat Phil Mickelson, and got it up and down to save par and win the tournament. And it's little things like that you see that are like, you got to be tough as nails sometimes to not go for the bravado shot and just trust in yourself that your wedge game or that your putter or that hitting the shot that you're comfortable with is going to be good enough. And that's that inner confidence that it takes to really be successful out there, is knowing your own game and having faith and trusting in that your strengths are good enough to last against anybody.
Good stuff.
Certainly putting though, you can't get anywhere in the golf world without being able to putt.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
All the junior golf.
It's a good thing you have a putting green right behind you right now.
Yeah, that's a new addition to my house here in Florida. I have a good buddy that does the artificial turf, and so he couldn't wait to put in a green at my new house, and it's been great to have it here while we've been in quarantine. It definitely lets me keep up on the chipping and putting. So, and you can see my golf net back there in the corner too, that I can still hit some balls into.
They are.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah.
Last question for me, Vince. Take it back to the Philly roots. Through this long journey, I'm sure you've been getting a lot of support. Do you still get a lot of messages and support from guys up here?
Absolutely. I had the chance to reconnect with some high school buddies. I thought that was really cool this year. They came down for Sea Island's tournament. And then obviously the people at Lanark, I mean, they've been reaching out to me nonstop, and it's so cool to see the support from up there, and the pride that they have in me and the pride that I have in them, and knowing where I came from. And it takes a family, right? Like it takes a family for anybody to be successful. And I consider Lanark to be part of my family. And, every time I go back there, they're so gracious to me and so welcoming. And, it's a place that I always look forward to going back and see.
Great. Tony, anything else?
I just had one last question, hypothetical.
Well, here we go. This is going to be great.
It is. What can a healthy Vince Covello accomplish when he's back out there?
If you don't show up there believing that you're good enough to win a golf tournament, you might as well not show up. So I know that my healthy self, when I bring my good stuff and I'm making putts and everything's clicking, I know I can compete with anybody. That's the trick of the game, though, is that we hardly ever have all of it working together. And certainly, first things first, having your body in shape to have everything else work. So I'm optimistic about my skill set and where it can stand and hold up out there. And, to say I expect to win a tournament is probably the wrong way to put it, but I'm hopeful to win a tournament. And I know that my skill set can compete around the world. So I believe myself as far as that goes. And, it's being inwardly confident, not outwardly cocky to me, that I was always raised to be that way. And, so to say it outright is tough for me, but I believe I can win. I believe I can win anywhere I show up. And, my stuff, I've spent a long time crafting my skills and whittling them down to, perfecting them and knowing myself. And I think that that experience and that inner belief is going to suit me well when the time comes.
Be well, get healthy. And we will hopefully talk to you again next time after you win a PGA Tour event.
Sounds great. Thank you guys for having me on. I'm honored to be on, and I'm honored to have a following up there. It's really cool how much it's grown, and how many people it's touched, and how many people it gives something to look forward to. So thank you guys, and thank you for being fans and supporting. And I look forward to seeing you guys at some point when I make it up there. Hopefully, when we get out of quarantine and the weather's nice up there, I might pop my head in for a little bit. So.